My rich dad taught me about systems and how to be a leader of people, not a manager of people. Managers often see their subordinates as inferiors. Leaders must direct people who are often smarter. A traditional way of learning about systems is getting your MBA from a prestigious school and then getting a fast-track job that takes you up the corporate ladder. An MBA is important because you learn the basics of accounting and how the financial numbers relate to the systems of a business. Yet, having an MBA, how to learn to become a B. The way I learned to become a B was by being an apprentice to my rich dad. His son and I were both E's learning to be B's. And that is the way many people learn. It's called on-the-job training. This is the way many closely held family empires are passed on from one generation to the next. The problem is that not too many people are privileged or lucky enough to learn the behind-the-scenes aspects of becoming a B. Most corporate management training programs are just that. The company only trains you to be a manager. Few teach what it takes to be a B. Often, people get stuck in the S quadrant on their journey to the B quadrant. This happens primarily because they don't develop a strong enough system and end up becoming an integral part of the system. Successful Bs develop a system that will run without their involvement. There are 3 ways you can make it to the B side quickly. 1. Find a mentor. My rich dad was my mentor. A mentor is someone who has already done what you want to do and is successful at doing it. Don't find an advisor. An advisor is someone who tells you how to do it but may not have personally done it. Most advisors are in the S quadrant. The world is filled with S's trying to tell you how to be a B or an I. My rich dad was a mentor, not an advisor. One of the biggest tips my rich dad gave me was this: be careful of the advice you take. While you must keep your mind open, always be aware of which quadrant the advice is coming from. My rich dad taught me about systems and how to be a leader of people, not a manager of people. Managers often see their subordinates as inferiors. Leaders must direct people who are often smarter. A traditional way of learning about systems is getting your MBA from a prestigious school and then getting a fast-track job that takes you up the corporate ladder. An MBA is important because you learn the basics of accounting and how the financial numbers relate to the systems of a business. Yet, having an MBA doesn't mean you're competent to run all the systems that ultimately make up a complete business system. To learn about all the systems necessary in a big company, you'll need to spend 10 to 15 years there and learn all the different aspects of the business. You should then be prepared to leave and start your own company. Working for a successful major corporation is like being paid by your mentor. Even with a mentor and/or years of experience, this first method is labor-intensive. Creating your own system requires a lot of trial and error, upfront legal costs, and paperwork. All of this occurs at the same time you're trying to develop your people. 2. Buy a franchise. Another way to learn about systems is to buy a franchise. When you buy a franchise, you're buying a tried and proven operating system. By buying the franchise system, instead of trying to create your own system, you can focus on developing your people. Buying the system removes one big variable when you're learning how to be a B. Many banks will loan money for a franchise, but not for a small startup business, because they recognize the importance of systems and how starting with a good system lowers their risk. A word of caution. Franchises are hard for people with an S quadrant mentality who want to do their own thing. If you buy a franchise system, be an E. Just do it exactly the way they tell you to do it. Nothing is more tragic than the courtroom fights between franchisees and franchisors. The fights happen because the people who buy the system really want to do it their way not the way the person who created the system wants it done. If you want to do your own thing, then do it after you've mastered both systems and people. My highly educated dad failed, even though he bought a famous ice cream franchise. Although the system was excellent, the business still failed. In my opinion, the franchise failed because his partners were all E's and S's who didn't know what to do when things started to go bad and didn't ask for support from the parent company. In the end, the partners fought among themselves and the business went down. They forgot that a true B is more than a system. It's also dependent on good people to operate the system. Banks don't lend money to people without systems. If a bank won't lend money to a small business without a system, why should you? Almost daily, people come to me with business plans with the hope of raising money for their idea or their project. Most of the time, I turn them down for one main reason. The people raising the money don't know the difference between a product and a system. I've had friends ask me to invest money in developing a new music CD, and others who want me to help form a new nonprofit to change the world. As much as I might like the project, the product, or the person, I'll turn them down if they have little or no experience in creating and running business systems. Just because you can sing doesn't mean you understand the systems of marketing, finance and accounting, sales, human resources, and the many other systems that are required to keep a business afloat and make it successful. For a business to survive and thrive, 100% of all the systems must be functioning and accountable. For example, an airplane is a system of systems. If it takes off and, let's say, the fuel system fails, there often is a crash. The human body is also a system of systems. Most of us have had a loved one die because one of the body systems failed. The same thing happens in business. That is why building a tried and true business system isn't easy. It's the systems you forget about or don't pay attention to that cause you to crash and burn. That's why I rarely invest with an E or S who has a new product or idea. Professional investors tend to invest in proven systems with people who know how to run those systems. If banks lend based only on tried and true systems and the person who is going to run them, then you should do the same if you want to be a smart investor.